Coming up next, a reprise of a famous Clash of Champions angle from Cleveland. Renee Moxley-Good is in with the doctor and take a shit and Bryan Danielson. And before anybody can speak except for Renee, the door slams shut to the office they're in and is locked and they can't get out. So Danielson's locked in the doctor's office and Rush comes out, and then MJF comes out with his bad knee wrapped up, by the way, the one he missed the knee drop on. Brilliant. And he's still limping and selling. And he wanted to talk to referee Aubrey Ed. And she said, nay. But he still talked to her.
Be nice.
Danielson scheduled to wrestle, but he's not here. Ring the bell, start the match, count him out, that whole deal, right? As soon as she rings the bell and starts counting the split screen, there's Danielson crashing through the door, knocks it off its hinges, runs past the heels that are trying to stop him, and Aubrey Ed's counting slow on purpose. She'll pick up her hoof and she'll stamp it down on the mat. 1. And then she'll wait. Then she'll pick that hoof up and she'll stamp it down on the mat. Like that, right?
Well, to be honest, she wasn't counting any slower than the usual AEW referee
counting. The usual, yeah. So finally, Bryan gets in the ring, makes it, and Rush gets on him. And at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, we've got Bryan Danielson in the ring and MJF on color, who knocked Tony and Sockface, by the way, thankfully. So Rush, I will say he's better than Andre Olio.
Much better, I think.
Much better. He got some heat on Danielson, but they kept up a hot pace. And because Danielson was at a disadvantage from the start, he was fighting from underneath through the whole thing. And Rush, he ran Danielson's head into the chair. And Danielson got color. And here's the thing. I didn't see Bryan's. But again, in the same program. It's constant. It's happened so much now with not only Moxley every week, but also the girls now. And now within less than an hour apart, there's 2 different people bleeding. It's not special. It doesn't have the impact anymore. But nevertheless, the one problem I had with this, and it's AEW, they stayed on the floor for a minute straight, with Aubrey saying, either staring at him or saying, get back in. Then Rush would roll in and out and then beat Danielson up on the floor for another 1 minute. I was timing this. But again, Danielson usually is able to have a modern match while still making it make sense and not bury the referee and etc. But the Lucha guys don't even think about the fucking rules and are never taught to. And look at Mexico. They do whatever the fuck. So this wasn't Bryan's fault in this, and that you can't get these guys you can't get them to tag, you can't get them to recognize a count out, a disqualification, burying a referee. It's not in their vocabularies. They're never even called on the carpet about it. But they went through a break. Bryan kept firing back to make it fresh, but then he'd get shut down again. And finally, he was a bloody mess at the end, and finally he made the big comeback with the dive, and he beat up Rush on the floor, turned the tables. And the fans were with it. And he hit the missile drop kick. And they do the kicks, the chops, and a back and forth. And finally, Danielson hit the bukkake knee and got the 2 count. And then more forearms and chops. And one thing about Bryan Danielson should think about this better than anybody. Why is he doing headbutts? And I'm not talking about the safety issue, because he's doing the headbutt. He's protecting himself, but everybody knows he had the problem with concussion. You would think, as he tries to make things more legitimate than most people, that he would take that out of his repertoire, because people would know that if he had to retire because of concussions before, he would not be willingly headbutting another fucking guy if it was real, right?
Hey, if he cares about the realness of his matches, no more taking a break in the middle of the match and all of a sudden slowing everything down so 2 guys could stand there and chop each other back and forth, feeding each other to do it. It's ridiculous.
Well, there's that also. But anyway, but at least when they were trading the chops, Bryan sells and registers, whereas Rush either takes a bump or doesn't, but there's nothing in between. But finally, Rush German suplex Danielson. Danielson rolled through, hopped up, hit the knee again. Boom, 1, 2, 3. It got a little tiresome at points. Rush has weaknesses. It wasn't as good as MJF and our friend Take as a match, but it got the point across, and it wasn't as bad as Bryan Danielson and Brian Cage. But then MJF hit the ring and knocked out Danielson with the diamond ring and got the arm bar and cranked up on it. They actually sent some security that MJF nailed off the apron with the ring and went back to the arm before they sent more security and went to the break with them trying to pry MJF off. Rush had disappeared. And again, I know that, a lot of modern producers or agents will say, okay, Rush, you're not in this angle. Now that you've lived your usefulness, go away. No, he's the fucking guy to help keep the security off the apron while the big heel does the dastardly damage, but he disappeared instead. But that was fine. What'd you think about this, young man?
I thought it was a really good match, other than, again, the one thing I hate that Danielson does in almost every match, Moxley does in almost every match. I thought it was a really good match. Actually, I like the Rush match maybe. I even liked it better than the Thatcher match. I think Rush has been I think Rush has been the best opponent he's had in several weeks. I mean, he wrestled Takeshita. He wrestled several guys, and I'm forgetting a guy or two, but I think Rush, this may have been my favorite of all those matches.
I like Thatcher better than this one, but like I said, it was better than Cage and actually better, than
Cage, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah. Well, nevertheless,